So you're playing Genshin, you pull Navia, and you watched her basics guide, and now you're wanting to know a little bit more about what to do with her mid-game or late game. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to look at the artifact grinding hell video for Navia. Now, yes, I am doing much better. Thank you for everybody that wished me getting over the sickness. I really do appreciate it. So let's get into this video on Navia. Now, we are going to refresh, touch base as far as the build of the Navia that we're using. So my Navia is level 80 out of 80 with 19,000 HP. 1900 attack, 44 EM, we're not too worried about that. 53 over 179.1 with 135 ER. Her weapon is a level 80 R1 Serpent Spine. Artifacts, 4-piece Whispers, C0, and talents 166. So I did bench my Navia relatively quickly after getting her for really no reason. I just don't enjoy her playstyle that much, to each their own, right? So the team that we're going to talk about first is going to be the same team that we used in the beginner guide, or the basics guide, which is going to be a combination of Furina and Bennett. Now, Furina and Bennett do go together super well with basically any team where you're going to have somebody on field doing the damage dealing that scales with attack thanks to Bennett's burst. Now, Navia is not going to mind having the C6 mini. Her getting her Geo infusion after using her skill is going to not be overridden by Bennett, so we will be able to produce a good amount of shards with that. Now, one thing that I will say is that this team, having Furina and Bennett, does not have a ton of off-field elemental application. So in a team like this, you do need to make sure that you have enough energy recharge so that way Navia can use her burst off of cooldown or relatively soon off of cooldown, because it's going to be much more difficult to make shards. I am running Ningguang in this team to allow or to help make some shards because Navia doesn't make a ton of shards on her own outside of her burst. So having Ningguang in there, using Bennett's skill, allowing for Furina's minions to hit the enemy before we get Ningguang to hit them will help us control the amount of geo shards that are being made. But again, there's not a ton of off-field elemental application from our other characters here, so it is going to be more important for us to have energy recharge on Navia, so that way we can use her burst off of cooldown to where we don't have to rely on Ningguang creating enough shards for us. But Bennett, along with Furina, does do a phenomenal job of getting the buffing to Navia. So it is a really good team. You just got to either make sure you have enough ER on Navia, or you got to make sure that you have another Geo character that's going to help you create enough shards. So now let's look at Navia's artifacts. Just so you know, these artifacts are not good whatsoever, but we can still talk about the main stats and substats that you want. Navia's best set is going to be Nighttime Whispers, which gets up your attack, but then also after using the skill, you gain a Geo damage bonus, which is going to be really good. But then while you're under a shield created from the crystallized reaction, you're going to get an increase even further, and you need to have the shields. This is another reason why it's super important to have off-field elemental application, so that way you can create these shields, right? Navia's whole thing revolves around creating shards, so this artifact set is really good for her, because you should always have one of those crystallized shields on you because of just how many shards you need to make for Navia in general. So for the flower, we have attack percent, HP percent, crit rate, crit damage. The attack percent is great. The crit rate is great. The crit damage is great. That HP percent could have been ER. If it had been ER, it would have been even better. That would have been probably a perfect artifact set, would be if we had ER instead of HP percent. Having that ER is going to allow her to use her burst more often. Crit rate, crit damage, flat HP, flat defense. The crit rate and the crit damage are going to be good. The flat HP, the flat defense, not so much, right? Navia scales off of attack, so we want to have attack percent where we can. Attack percent sands, crit rate, great. Defense, not good. Defense, not good. HP, not good. This could be much better than it already is. As you can see, I only leveled it to level 17 or 16 because I wasn't even going to try and do another roll. Geo Goblet, crit damage, defense percent, attack, ER. Crit damage, great. Defense, not so good. Attack, flat attack, we wish that was attack percent. ER is going to be great. For the circlet, crit damage main stat because we are running Serpent Spine. EM, not too great. ER, great. Flat attack, could have been attack percent. HP percent, not good. As you can see, these are not good artifacts to be running on Navia but we do have all of the main stats that you want and some of the artifacts or some of the substats that you would also want. Now, if you don't have 4-piece Whispering, then you can do something like Marshmallow Hunter if you are running her with Furina. This is going to allow for us to not invest so much into her crit rate because of the 4-piece effect. We just need to make sure that Benny, or our healer, is going to have enough ER, in Benny's case, to be able to use his burst as often as possible to get Navia's HP back up, so that way Furina can then drop it back down, constantly making it fluctuate, so that way we can keep this Marshmallow Hunter set fully active. With this current set on her, I do lose energy recharge, but her crit rate is going to be over 100% when all 3 stacks are in effect. So with this set, running her with Furina, this can be a very, very good option. Really only if you're using her with Furina. If you're not going to be using her with Furina, or if you don't have Furina, then I would just completely skip Marshmallow Hunter. But like I said, with Furina, we need to make sure that we have enough HP fluctuation for Navia to have the set bonus fully active 100% of the time. So we do have to make sure that our Benny is built well enough that we can bring him on the field, drop his burst to buff Navia, but also to heal her, so that way the minions can then suck the HP back down, and we just have enough fluctuation going on to where we will always be able to keep that passive from the artifact set active. That is the biggest thing with this team. Something else that you can do is going to be like a 2-piece attack, 2-piece archaic, right? So 2-piece Nighttime Whispers and then 2-piece archaic, so that way we can get attack and we can get Geo bonus. At this rate though, we do need to still try and have a really good crit split, which this has a worse crit split than Marshmallow Hunter, and I think it was about the same as 4-piece Nighttime Whispers. But this is another viable option if you don't have good Nighttime Whispers pieces. You can do this to get by. Now for weapons, Serpent Spine is going to be one of her bests. If you don't have Verdict, which is her signature, it's going to get up crit rate, which is going to be very good, which Navia needs a lot of, because Navia is kind of like Eula, where if you do not crit, you've wasted the skill, right? With Eula, if you don't crit her burst, it's wasted. Same thing kind of with Navia. If you don't crit that skill shot, then it's not going to be as effective. So you do need to invest into the crit rate. If you don't have Serpent Spine, you do always have the Cardboard Claymore from the event. This does get up energy recharge, which is good, but it also gets up attack. Then, of course, you have Wolf's Gravestone, which is another really good option. If you are running her with like Marshmallow Hunter, then this can be really good, because Marshmallow Hunter is going to be getting your crit rate, and this is going to be getting your attack up a ton. So Wolf's Gravestone can be good on her, especially with Marshmallow Hunter. So if you don't have Furina and you want to do another team, then we're going to do something that's going to allow us to create more Geo shards, right? We're still going to leave Ningi in there for Geo Resonance, because it is one of the only ways to make enemies weaker to Geo. But we are going to bring in Xingqiu, who is going to be adding some off-field elemental damage, as well as making it easier for us to create shards with Ningguang or Navia herself. So this is going to be a really good option. The one thing about this is if you take Furina out, or if you don't have Furina and you put somebody like Xingqiu in, you're not going to be able to use Marshmallow Hunter. At this point, you're going to have to use something like 2-piece with Archaic and Nighttime Whispers, or 4-piece Nighttime Whispers. It's going to limit your artifact set. It's going to take away Marshmallow Hunter, but it is going to allow for you to make shards more easily and more reliably, so that way Navia can do her damage more often, right, with the full stacks. And it's also going to allow somebody like Ningi to help create those shards as well. Now, if we have enough ER on Navia and we don't want to run Geo Resonance, we can do something like Xiangling, Xingqiu, and Benny. This is going to almost decrease Navia's damage, but increase the team's overall damage by letting Xiangling and Xingqiu vape, right? We're going to be able to use Benny's Burst and Snapshot it with Xiangling, and we're going to be able to have a lot more reactions, a lot more elements, a lot more Geo Shards that Navia can create on her own. We just need to make sure that we have a little bit more ER so that we can use her Burst to help her get her stacks more reliably. But in a team like this, with her being the sole Geo character, we do have to use her skill, get the Geo infusion, swing that Claymore around to get some shards, to then use her skill again, making sure that we do let her absorb the energy, to then use her burst, to then create more stacks, as this is a much more, I'm going to use the word finicky team, where you kind of have to have things lined up correctly so that way she can create her own Geo shards, but the amount of shards that you can create are going to go through the roof with all of this off-field elemental application. So this is another option if you don't have Furina, or if you don't want to run double Geo, you can do something like this where, again, Navia's independent damage or her personal damage is going to decrease, but the team's overall damage is going to increase. Now that is going to be it for this video on Navia. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody else will be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.